Hello friends, this video is talking about the first chapter of BBSC 132 Indian Government and Politics of IGNOU textbook, and the name of this chapter is Liberal Approach to Politics. So we can go to introduction part. Scholars have explained politics in different ways, so that different ways are called approaches or perspectives. So while we are explaining about different approaches used in Indian politics, there are mainly three: liberal, Marxist and Gandhian approaches. So in this chapter we are going to look at liberal approaches. Liberal perspective views politics in terms of political structures and processes, and note down that this liberal approach does use political system in the place of state system. It does not use state because the classical liberalism was against the concept of state, because the state prevented or restricted the power of individual rights. It mainly focuses on liberal approach, mainly focuses on consensus within the political system rather than class relations or conflicts. And these class relations or conflicts are being looked upon by Marxist perspective, whereas this liberal perspective only views consensus within the political system. And this political system comprises of political institutions like legislature, executive, judiciary, and political structure, social structure, different social structures like religion, caste, etc. Okay, I think that you got an idea about the liberal perspective. So liberal perspective focuses on consensus within the political system rather than relations or conflicts. Okay, now let me say give an hint about Gandhian perspective also. Gandhian perspective views state as an ethical institutions, and his Gandhian perspective is somewhat similar to those of Aristotle and Plato's argument. So Aristotle and Plato, the ancient Greek philosophers, thinkers, also thought that the state is an ethical institution and end of the state is the welfare of the people. So somewhat similar approach is being seen in the Gandhian approach. Now, core elements of the liberal approach. Core elements of the liberal approaches are three. There are institutions, processes, values. So we are going to examine this one by one. So institutions is a part of a political system, and I have already mentioned that liberal approaches is using political system instead of state. So it is averse to use the term state, and this political system consists of certain institutions and structures. These institutions are legislature, executive, judiciary, political parties, industry groups or civil society organization, and social, etc. Then social structures are religion, caste, etc. Okay. Now, while this institution and structure interact with each other, there will be conflicts, and there need to be a consensus eventually arises from these conflicts. So this approach is mainly focuses on consensus building. For example, with take the case of the Indian political system. We have different institutions, and these institutions may sometimes we can see conflict between them. For example, judiciary and the executive, we can see some conflicts and all, and we can see that it is being being resolved without any kind of serious injuries on both sides. Not only between institutions and the social structures also, there would be a conflict, and eventually it will be resolved also. For example, is the government, and between government and some kinds of pressure groups also, we can see pressure groups, or some kind of social stress, some religion also, we can see some conflicts. For example, in the case of Sadi, man of Sadi, that is the government in 1859. I'm talking about British India time, that Lord William Bentinck has banned Sati in the Bengal province. Okay, so what happened at the time? There was a conflict between some of the religious section of Hindus and the government, but it was being resolved. It reached to a consensus. So this approach is mainly focusing study on consensus building. So this approach dominated the study of Indian politics for from around 4 decades. Okay, 4 decades. Okay, so this is one of the core elements, institutions, and it's a part of political system. Then we are going to another core element, that is processes. Processes are the functions which are performed by different institutions and organizations. Organizations are or social structures, we can say. Okay, what functions they are performing? Political mobilization. In institutions, we can see parties. They are politically mobilizing voters and ensuring political participation, and this political participation can occur in different ways, that some can vote for a particular party or particular group. Okay, and or some will stand for elections, etc. So political mobilization is there. Okay, and this political in India, we can see political mobilization on various grounds, not only on party levels, political mobilization on religious basis, political mobilization on caste basis, political mobilization on economic interests. Okay, class basis. Okay, then interest articulation. Okay, interest articulation, the term articulation is for expression. So some of the interest groups, you can say that they are expressing their interest in their areas. Okay, then interest aggregations, that is, some institutions are combining their interest into policies in the same sense that into a firm actions. Okay, or a determined actions. Okay, so these are some of the functions of these institutions. Okay, which are being noted in the textbooks or described in the textbooks. Now these functions would add or will impact democratizations of society. Democratization is that they will be part of, most of the societies will come under the part of democracy. They will enjoy the benefits of democracy. So impacts of this democratization is that democratization will come into lower strata of society. We can say that before the independence, the voting rights was limited to some people only. Okay, in the India. Okay, but in 1947, what happened is that on the first election itself, a universal adult suffrage was being established by our government. So people, irrespective of caste, gender, sex, creed, etc., can vote, and their value of vote is 1. And soon the people, in order to influence the government, what happened is that the people with same interest, that same interest may be based on caste, economy, religion, etc., try to vote to a single candidate and assert their influence in the politics. So a democratization has occurred to the lower strata of society also, that is from the upper caste or upper class to lower class of people also are asserting their influence in politics. Okay, then transition from semi-feudal and tradition to equal and liberal Indian society also. So in the earlier phase of our democracy, only the power existed in the hands of some rich people, some feudal people. But due to some reforms in our political system and in our social systems and all, there is a shift from shift of power uh, from poor to from rich to poor. For example, is the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, that is Panchayati Raj Act, and 73rd Constitution Amendment Act, because it has shifted the powers to the hands of the common people. Okay, then emergence of civil society organization. Then civil society organizations are parallel organizations to that of government, and it's some sort of pressure group also. Now, to understand the concept of civil society organization, first we need to understand the concept of civil society in general. Now, what do you mean by civil society? Civil society is a space between family and the state. Okay, and the organizations which are being operating in these phases in this space is called civil society organizations, and the members of the civil society organization will share a common interest. Okay, now we are going to third element, core element, that is values. That is a liberal approach include values, that is liberty, human rights. And take note of this right is not only confined to individual right, but it also contains community rights. Okay, and equalities also. Okay, it is the duty of state to provide protection to the vulnerable section, ethnic groups, scheduled tribe, minority and language and culture of different communities. So this is included in the community rights. Okay, then so this is all about the core elements of liberal approach, that is institutions, which is a part of political system. We have discussed institutions are different, for example, political parties, legislature, executive, etc. Then what is the political in institutions is emphasizing is that in a political system it is emphasizing is that a consensus building. Liberal approach is mainly aiming at consensus within the political system. Okay, and it is a word to use the term state. Then processes are what the functions of these institutions and social structures. Okay, we have discussed about various process functions like political mobilization. We have discussed about various functions. Okay, like political mobilization, interest articulations, interest aggregations, etc. So these are then, and values are which the values which are inherited in this approach, that is liberty, equalities, rights are not limited to individual rights, but also community right was also included. Okay, now liberal approach to study Indian politics. Okay, when this liberal approach is applied to Indian politics, it can be termed as systemic approach, and this systemic approach was being developed by David Easton and James X. Coleman to study development of political system in the developing countries in the 1950s to 60s. Please note down 1950s to 1960s because this was the time just after the World War II, and many third world countries have emerged, and before they were colonies also. So they were developing countries. So to study the political development of these countries, this systemic approach was being developed by these two scientists, David Easton and James X. Coleman. As political system developed, different political institutions and structures may have conflicts and consensus. I have discussed this before because in the core elements of this approach. Okay, and notable author who has practiced this approach in India is Rajni Kothari, and his book Politics in India uses systemic approach, and he categorizes the period of 1950s 60s as Congress system. Okay, because the Congress was in a dominant position during this phase. Okay, at state and at national level. Okay, criticism. Criticism is that criticism to this liberal approach. Okay, now we have seen that Rajani Kothari is one of the famous scholars who has used this approach, and in his book Politics in India, it is being reflected. But C.P. Bhamri, a Marxist scholar, has criticized the Rajani Kothari's approach because it didn't include class character of state. We can say that in the Marxist studies and all, the class character of state is very, very important, because according to Marxism, the state is an executive of bourgeois. Okay, location and distribution of political power, the role of imperialism and economic aspect, trades unions, big farmers, industrialists, etc. So this Rajani Kothari has neglected these all spheres, that is economic spheres, class relations, etc. Okay, now many scholars studies Congress system of different states to understand political system till 1970s. Okay, but it neglected the impacts of land reforms, green revolution, and other welfare schemes. Okay, so eventually what is being done is that this liberal approach seen state as an autonomous and independent unit, and this approach is called statist approach. So statist approach was being included into liberal approach, which seems state as an autonomous and independent unit. But in Marxist perspective, early Marxist perspective, state is not regarded as an autonomous unit. State is what is a state is a executive of bourgeoisie. Okay, so these are the criticism faced by this liberal approach. Now, changing scope of liberal approach. So what are changes which are coming in the liberal approach? It is no longer to use the concept of state. So we have discussed earlier about statist approach. Then it studies people's mobilization through civil society organization, multiculturalism, social capital, or in electoral politics. Okay, now we will discuss about civil society organization, multiculturalism, and social capital in detail. Okay, civil society versus civil society organization. So I have said earlier that civil society is a space that exists between family and the state, and civil society organizations are those organizations which operate within this space, and the members of this civil society organization will share a common interest. Okay, there are many cases where states have failed to provide or protect their citizens or communities. At that time, the civil societies have come to protect rights of citizens or communities in the form of protest, interest articulations, etc. Okay, so Neera Chandok is the one who explains civil society is a space that exists between family and state. I quoted her earlier, and in this space, civil society organization operate. Okay. Now about multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is, to understand this, multiculturalism means it guarantees or attempts to provide cultural rights of religious and linguistic minorities to preserve their culture, language, script, and other rights. Okay, so this is being provided in our constitution in Article 29, that a person, if he has a language or culture to protect, he has the right to do so. Not only minorities can do it, every Indian citizens can do that. Okay, this is called multiculturalism, that is cultural rights. So multiculturalism is related to providing cultural rights of religious and linguistic to minority communities to preserve their culture, language, script, and other rights. But people often use multiculturalism with pluralism, but pluralism is just a mere existence of diversity, is a mere existence of diversity, and we are not looking whether the diverse groups are being satisfied or not, and it is a definition according to Mahajan. Okay. So what we can say is that liberal approach recognizes rights of not only individuals but also groups. We have firstly look into the values of the liberal approach. Values is one of the three core elements in the liberal approach. Okay. Now next is about social capital. Social capital, we have social capital. Okay, as we are human beings and we are living in a society, we will have a networking or an interaction with the people in our group or society, and we will have more interactions with the people who share our interest in the form of religion, caste, or economic interest, or vice versa. So this social capital is a term denoting existence of networking among people in a group or community who share common values and trust each other. This social capital is positive as well as negative, because this social capital will lead to many revolutionary movements to communal rights. Okay, so because we are connecting or interacting with people and all, and as a result what happens is that there will be a mobilization, and we sometimes it will lead to a movement or a riot. Okay, that is different impacts of this social capital. Okay, now Ashutosh Varshni in his book Ethnic Conflict and Civil Life explains about the role of this social capital in Hindus and Muslims in 6 riots on the basis of the ethnic riots which was happened in 6 cities of India. Okay, between Hindus and Muslims. Okay, convergence or similarities between liberal or Marxist approach. So liberal and Marxist approach, we know that they are entirely different from each other. So liberal approaches was earlier not interested to use the term state, but it soon turned instead it used political system, but now it changed. It is not reluctant to use the term state. Marxist approach, what happens is that is views state as an executive of bourgeoisie, but some sort of change also has came between these two ideologies or two approaches, because this political system and state was used interchangeably, is using interchangeably. Okay, since 1980s there has been a convergence of liberal and Marxist approach also. Pranab Bardhan, a neo-Marxist scholars, not a neo-Marxist scholars. So Marxists are of two types: classical Marxist and a neo-Marxist. Okay, classical Marxist stay according to classical Marxist, what they think is that every base is the economy. Okay, and superstructures are religion, class, etc. Okay, so this economy is influencing the superstructure according to classical Marxist, but neo-Marxist, according to neo-Marxist, the base, that means economy, is will not necessarily influence the superstructures like religion, class, etc. Okay, so that is what and the difference between classical Marxist and neo-Marxist. Neo-Marxist is a new set of the new new set of Marxist thinkers with new ideologies, different from the classical Marxist thinkers. So Pranab Bardhan, we will discuss about this neo-Marxism and classical Marxism in next chapter called Marxist approach. Pranab Bardhan, a neo-Marxist scholar, contends that in Indian state is an autonomous actor. So we can see that they are deviating from the Marxist approach, or some changes is there in the Marxist approach, which plays an important role in shaping and molding power relation among classes. So these new Marxist scholars are saying that state is an autonomous actor. Okay, and according to Lloyd and Susan Rudolph, Indian state is a centrist state and it functions as demand polity, subject to demands from various groups. So you can say that different groups are there, and the government is subjected to demands from various groups. For example, is that the case of Shabarimala issue in Kerala. The government was subjected to pressure from the various Hindu groups. Okay, then command polity, that is the government state has power to command also. So it is a centrist state, that is it is subjected to demands as well as it has privilege to command also. With this I am stopping my first lecture on this topic. I hope that you uh, you enjoyed this section. Thank you and have a nice day. And please comment below if you like it. Please subscribe the channel and press the notification bell for latest videos, for knowing the latest videos.